going on, everybody? Welcome to the Steve V Show podcast. I'm your host, Steve V, and this is the first video episode of this podcast. This podcast lives on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel. So I thought I should probably have a video component. I mean, it makes sense. It's YouTube. YouTube is a video site. So I thought if I want this podcast to grow and for people to really enjoy it, I probably should do a video. So this is the first one. This is episode 3. My last few podcasts were just strictly audio, and though I'm very proud of those podcasts, I knew I had to kind of grow and do something a little bit different. So first episode of the video podcast, and I got some really exciting things to talk to you about today. It's just going to be me, myself, and I on this podcast. My last few, I did have some guests, but today I'm just going to go solo. Like I said, I got some fun things to talk about. If you're a wrestling fan, you'll enjoy this one because I'm going to touch on the Royal Rumble. I'll give you guys my opinion on the winners and kind of let you guys know what my predictions were. And I got all my predictions wrong other than the actual 2 matches outside the Rumble. I knew Roman would win and I knew Logan Paul would win. Other than that, I was wrong with my predictions. So I'll let you guys know who I thought would win the men's and women's Rumble and who ended up winning in the end. And then we're going to touch on some Arcade1Up stuff. With Arcade1Up, they've definitely kind of been taking this year very slowly. They haven't announced anything yet. The newest thing we saw was that Oreo Pac-Man combo cabinet. That's a prize that Oreo is giving away because they got kind of a partnership with Namco. They're doing Pac-Man style Oreos. So basically, we saw this Arcade1Up cabinet. Though Arcade1Up has nothing to do with this thing, it's actually Namco that has the partnership with Oreos. They did use an Arcade1Up cabinet as one of their prizes, and then it was skinned in kind of like an Oreo theme. That's the newest thing we've seen as far as Arcade1Up goes. So it would be nice if they could announce something soon. But we'll talk a little bit about what I think they might announce. And we're also going to touch on some of the cabinets that I got a chance to see yesterday. I was at the Brick here in my town, and I got to see some cabinets in person that I don't own. And one of them was one that actually kind of shocked me as far as like how good it actually looked. Because when I've seen the render of it, I wasn't a fan. But when I saw it in person, it kind of changed my tune a little bit. So we'll touch on that as well. And then we'll kind of end with talking about McFarlane toys. If you guys watch, some of my videos where I talk about like some of the figures I have. And I think I mentioned it on some of my podcasts as well. I collect live action Batman figures from McFarlane Toys, and they announced 2 figures that I have some interest in. But one, I'm a little hesitant to pick up right now, and I'll explain to you why. So yeah, we got some interesting topics to talk about. So we're going to start with the WWE Royal Rumble. Like I said, that happened last night. Today's Sunday. That happened on Saturday. The new pay-per-view day is now Saturday, which I think works. At first, I didn't like it. I actually preferred Sundays because Sunday is kind of a slower day. And I felt like that kind of gave me something to look forward to on a Sunday night. But now that it's on Saturday, it's kind of grown on me. And I'm actually enjoying these Saturday pay-per-views or whatever they call them now. PLEs or something like that. I don't know. I know I'm screwing up the acronym, but whatever it is, I like it. So the Royal Rumble is probably one of my favorite wrestling events in the calendar year. WrestleMania is obviously number 1, and now WrestleMania is 2 days. So on a scale of 1 to 10, WrestleMania is 10. Royal Rumble is 9.5 for me. So it's not even 9, it's 9.5. That's how excited I get over the Royal Rumble. And this one actually really meant something to me because I actually got permission from my wife to watch it with my son. And you're probably asking, why do you need permission? Well, my son's 2.5, and I don't let him watch any type of stuff like that, right? It's just, he's at an age where, he sees things and he'll kind of like either, reenacted, or he might think like something like that's okay, like hitting and all that stuff. Obviously, I don't want him doing that. But because this was the Royal Rumble and my wife was off a little bit later, I wanted to watch it live. So I asked her, I said, can I watch it with him? And, I'll kind of try to explain things to him the best way a 2.5-year-old could kind of understand. Because the only thing he would really see was the first Rumble of the night. And then after that, he wouldn't see anything else. And she said it was okay. So it was a cool dad moment having my 2.5-year-old next to me. And he did. The first Royal Rumble was the Women's Royal Rumble. That lasted about an hour and a bit. And he was like right in it for 45 minutes before he kind of got bored and started playing with his toys. And I got him kind of excited for the countdowns, and he really liked the fact of people coming in and then seeing people kind of thrown out. So it was a really cool moment, and I really enjoyed that with my son. Probably the next pay-per-view he might see is maybe Mania, but other than that, again, I'm going to kind of keep the wrestling stuff to a minimum with him until he gets a little older. But the Women's Royal Rumble, I really enjoyed. I actually enjoyed the women's more than the men's because there were some exciting entries, Naomi came back. That was kind of expected, but it was cool seeing her come back, and she really had, time to shine because she was the second woman in. We seen Jordynne Grace in there, who is the TNA Women's Champion. Obviously, there's kind of been a little bit of a partnership with WWE and TNA when it comes to these Rumbles. We've seen Mickie James show up. I can't remember if it was last year or the prior year, but she was the Women's Champion. She came into the Rumble, so they did that with Jordynne Grace this year. Thought that was kind of cool. She had some pretty cool moments. Very, very strong woman. It was cool seeing her do that suplex spot where it was her and I think it was Jade Cargill that was doing the other suplex. Don't quote me on that, but I know there was that cool suplex spot. I mainly remember Jordynne Grace, her doing her suplex. I think it might have been Jade Cargill that did the other one. You guys can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So yeah, Jade Cargill was another surprise. That one I kind of knew was going to happen. And I'll explain to you why in a second. We've seen Liv Morgan come back. I think those were all the surprises. And the woman did a fantastic job. Really good match. Women's wrestling has come a long way in WWE as far as just really giving you like solid matches with like great moves, good storylines. In the end, Bayley ended up winning, and she was like the heavy favorite to win. To be honest with you, I don't know. Like, I try to watch SmackDown on a regular basis, but I have missed a few. I don't know why people thought she was the heavy favorite to win, but they were right. She ended up winning the Women's Royal Rumble. My prediction was Jade Cargill. I honestly knew that they would have her in the Rumble because they signed her. They kind of showed her a few times at certain events. Her backstage at Raw, her at NXT. I think she was like standing on the aisle. She showed up at SmackDown. I think it was like in an office segment or again backstage, something like that. So they kind of teased her, and then she kind of just disappeared for a while. So I knew the Rumble was going to be where they wanted to kind of have her come in, and I honestly thought she would win. I pictured her going against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. That was like the women's main event at Mania that I thought was going to happen. It could still happen, but as of right now, who knows, right? But I thought the Rumble would kind of justify her going against Rhea for the belt, because with her being new, if she were to get a title match right off the bat, people could be like, well, what has she done to earn that? Where the Rumble would have gave her that reason. But they ended up going with Bayley. I obviously think Bayley's going to go against Io Sky, which is going to break up Damage Control. So that will be interesting. We'll see how things kind of work out with that. But, congrats to Bayley. I think, she deserved the win. But I was shocked. I thought it would be Jade. But Jade definitely got some moments to shine in the Rumble. The Universal Championship match, I gotta admit, it was kind of lackluster for me. I knew that Roman would win, and he did. I thought there would be a little bit more of like shenanigans on the outside to kind of lead to the win, though Solo Sikoa did show up. Roman did get a clean win in the end, but I don't know what I was expecting out of this match, but I expected more than what we got. And I also didn't like the placement of it. I thought it should have been the match before the men's Royal Rumble. The fact that they did this match first and then did the U.S. title match, it just made it seem less important to me. So I was a little disappointed in the match. Not to say that the guys didn't work hard, and they tried to put on a good match, and maybe there were some people that actually enjoyed it. I just thought between the placement of the match and the fact that it just kind of brought the audience down a little bit because they were on such a high from the women's Rumble match. I don't know. It just didn't really deliver for me. And maybe that's also because I just knew that Roman would win. The U.S. title match I thought was phenomenal. I knew it would be. Kevin Owens is great. And Logan Paul, I thought, really delivers in the ring. He's really come a long way. From his first match, I thought he was already pretty good, but I thought his selling was like, so-so. I thought sometimes he would get up too soon from certain things. I feel like he's progressively got better, and I feel like they put on a great match, and I like the ending, with the brass knucks and how, Kevin Owens at the end of the day uses the brass knucks, which is a heel move, but the way they did it, because he did steal it from Logan Paul, he still looked like the babyface, but he got caught in the end and then got disqualified. Great story, great ending, and I look forward to seeing those two go against each other sometime down the line. I'm a huge Kevin Owens fan, so I'm hoping that he will end up getting the U.S. title at some point, because I feel like he's someone that deserves a title. He's a great worker. I remember seeing him in Ring of Honor live twice. One of them actually kind of a story where I'll probably be giving a little too much information. I was going to see a Ring of Honor show. It was either in Toronto or Ottawa. I'm gonna probably guess Toronto, but I can't remember. Like I said, I've seen two or three Ring of Honor shows, but two where he was actually at, and he was Kevin Steen at the time. Well, we stopped at this pit stop that had Tim Hortons. So, we stopped to get a coffee, obviously go to the bathroom. Well, while I was waiting to use one of the stalls, when the door opened, it was Kevin Owens that came out. Was not expecting that. So I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So then obviously I ended up going in, and it was that weird moment where I'm like, I'm sitting on the toilet that Kevin Owens just sat on. I don't know. Very, very weird. Again, weird moment, but it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, like we're going to see this guy perform, and literally he stopped at the same place we did. So then once I got out of the bathroom, he was actually still in the lobby with some fans. I think a couple of the people that were with him were actually driving with him, but then there were some fans that were around him as well. And and then, probably about 5-6 years later after that, he ended up in WWE. So, and I could be off on that timeline too. Maybe he ended up in WWE a little bit sooner, but this was around the time where he was going against Michael Elgin. I know that was one of the matches that we saw, and I remember at the end of the event, he got some box where he opened it up, and there was an El Generico mask inside, which ended up being Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was El Generico, so they were both still in Ring of Honor at that time. But that was the match that we ended up going to see. So again, it was either in Toronto or Ottawa. But yeah, saw Kevin Owens at the pit stop and used the bathroom right after he did. So again, weird situation, but whatever. Point is, I'm a fan of Kevin Owens and phenomenal wrestler, and I really hope in the end he does get that U.S. title from Logan Paul, probably at WrestleMania. The men's Royal Rumble, I did think it was good, but I think the women's Royal Rumble it had more surprises. Obviously, it started off the night, so there was a higher energy. You were a little more excited for the show. By the time the men's Royal Rumble started, I guess the energy for me kind of went down, so I was kind of expecting something to kind of bring me up there. again, it was a good match, but I guess I was kind of hoping there would be maybe like one or two more surprises. Obviously, Andrade came back. That was cool. And that was also something that was kind of rumored to be happening because obviously we knew he had left AEW and Tony Khan acknowledged that after his last match. So it was a surprise, but kind of something that we were expecting. I actually thought we were going to see X-Pac because there was rumors that he was in pretty good shape. So I was kind of hoping he would make an appearance. He didn't. I was actually hoping Ken Shamrock would make an appearance because I guess he's on a Legends contract. He didn't make an appearance, obviously. And probably the craziest one that I was actually hoping was Hulk Hogan. He kind of got me with that promo where he said maybe he could be in the Rumble. I thought maybe they would have a cool moment where he came out, maybe spent 5-10 minutes in the ring, and then, ended up getting thrown out. And, having him maybe be thrown out by like a Drew McIntyre or somebody that needed a little bit of heat. I think that would have been a really cool moment. But they didn't do any of those. So, but they have such a stack men's roster that they really could fill all the spots. The Pat McAfee thing was kind of the weird thing where it's like, why? Like he came up the ramp, he was going to go in, then didn't, then was, then didn't. I feel like they could have took that spot and gave it to probably like a cool, legend entry or something like that. But it is what it is. It was still a good match. I was actually expecting CM Punk to win. They ended up going with Cody. So I feel like now the chances of Cody winning that belt at Mania are pretty high. I thought maybe they would go a different direction because I thought maybe Roman would go against The Rock at Mania and maybe have Cody go against somebody else. Not saying they can't still do that, but now I feel like they've already stirred the storyline again. They have to kind of do it. They have to fulfill it now. Because if they don't, people are just going to kind of lose, the excitement and joy with this whole storyline, right? Because people thought Cody was going to win it last year and he didn't. Was that the right move? Who knows? I actually think in the end it was because they did a pretty good follow-up where they've built Cody back up. But now they have to fulfill the storyline. If they don't, you can't do it twice, right? You have to fulfill that storyline. By the third time, if they tried to do it, people just aren't going to be there for it anymore, in my opinion. So since they went with Cody, he has to win the Spell That Mania, in my opinion. Where CM Punk obviously probably will still go against Seth. We know Seth is injured, so it makes sense for CM Punk to win that belt and for Seth to go away and get the surgery that he needs. So all in all, a great Rumble. I did enjoy it. Again, it would have been nice to have a few surprise entries in the men's Royal Rumble, but it is what it is. They do have a stacked roster, so they could fill all those spots for the most part. It was a good show. I just wish that four-way was before the men's Rumble. Maybe that would have kind of added a little more build-up to the match, but where they positioned it, and again, knowing that Roman was 100% going to win, I felt like it was 100%. And just the way, people were kind of coming down from the women's Rumble, I feel like that was kind of the only thing where they didn't really deliver. But again, that's strictly my opinion. All in all, still a great event, and I'm really looking forward to WrestleMania. And I'm actually looking forward to getting some tickets to Money in the Bank because that is actually in Toronto. I live here in Canada, and it's actually on my birthday. So it's been the first time in a long time where I've been very eager to get tickets to a WWE event because I'm actually really invested. I've gone to many events over the years where being a fan, I was there because they were in my area and I'm just a fan of wrestling, so I would go. But now I'm like really invested in what they're doing. So really excited to go to that event. But before I kind of get ahead of myself, it's Mania first. Which I did look into tickets to go to Mania as well because I went to WrestleMania 30, so it would have made sense to go to 40, but the tickets were just too much. And I also have a child now, so I'm living in a different world, different tax bracket, so I can't spend some of that money like I did when I was obviously younger and didn't have as many responsibilities. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Raw going to Netflix in 2025. Very exciting news. I have Netflix, so I feel like I'm already set in that department. I'm one of the rare people that still have cable. So I'm actually looking for an excuse to get rid of cable. I feel like this will give me my excuse. I'm probably going to keep cable till after WrestleMania this year, and then I'm probably going to cut it off. And then I'm going to get the Sportsnet app, which is the app where all the wrestling events are here in Canada. And you can get a package where it also contains the network. But it also has my UFC stuff because I'm a huge UFC fan. UFC 300 is in April. So April's going to be a big time for me as far as wrestling and MMA is concerned. And that will all be on that app, right? But then after that, with Netflix having Raw, and I think here in Canada we're actually going to have SmackDown on there as well, and NXT, because from what I heard, it's just the States that will just have Raw on Netflix because they have deals with other channels that are going to carry some of their other shows. Like SmackDown's going to be on USA, I believe. NXT is going to be somewhere else. But here in Canada, we have Raw, SmackDown, NXT all on one channel. So I think when it goes to Netflix, we're also going to have everything on Netflix, which is obviously great for us here in Canada. Hopefully down the line, maybe in the States, they'll do the same thing. I think in England and some of the other places, it's going to be like Canada where it's all on Netflix. So I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to put a lot of eyes on the product. The product's been the best it's been in a long time. So I think it's going to only help them grow. And I'm really looking forward to that. So right now, as far as the wrestling front's concerned, it's very exciting. So many great things going on. Obviously, there is a little bit of a dark cloud with the Vince McMahon stuff. I don't want to get too much into that. Obviously, he's out of the company now. It is a shame that somebody that at the end of the day probably should have been praised for what he did with growing the company because of his, if proven guilty, obviously innocent till proven guilty. If all these things are true, or even a shred of it is true, obviously he's digged his own grave, right? And that's very unfortunate that might be what leads to him kind of never being associated to WWE again. And we're kind of in a weird time where other than Triple H being connected to the McMahons, there's really no McMahon connected to WWE right now. So it's very interesting times, but we'll see what ends up happening with the Vince thing. But again, if even a shred of it is true, it's just a shame that he did the things that he did and got all these people involved. Obviously, they're just as guilty if they are. If these stories are true, John Laurinaitis and maybe even Brock, and I guess for some other people, it's not good. But again, I'm not going to touch too much on that. That's more something that, I'm sure you wrestling fans already know about that or have looked into that. But other than the Vince thing, there's so much positive going on in the wrestling industry right now. AEW is doing their thing. They're a great alternative. TNA, formerly Impact, now TNA again, they're doing their thing. Ring of Honor is connected to AEW. I feel like, they provide an area where some of these AEW wrestlers that aren't on Dynamite or Collision or Rampage, they can kind of perform on Ring of Honor. So I'm glad Ring of Honor is there for them. But hopefully they can find a better place for Ring of Honor so they're a little more featured. But either way, the wrestling industry is growing. It's phenomenal, and I'm really enjoying it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is a little Arcade1Up. Now, my channel is pretty much a home arcade, again, specifically Arcade1Up, because of the fact that that's what I collect. Everything behind me is Arcade1Up. The only Arcade1Up, let me reword that. The only non-Arcade1Up arcade product that I have is the cocktail table that this phone is sitting on right now. But other than that, everything I have arcade related down here is Arcade1Up. And I'm a huge Arcade1Up fan. Though, they've obviously been very slow this year to announce anything, which has caused a lot of questions into what they actually have as far as licenses and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they have, in their pocket. The only thing we've seen was the Oreo thing I mentioned earlier. And again, even though that's an Arcade1Up cabinet, it's actually Namco that's doing this thing with Oreos. It's not actually Arcade1Up. So it is an Arcade1Up cabinet, but it's not a partnership that Arcade1Up has done. It's just Namco providing that cabinet, and then they skinned it to be kind of Oreo themed. Because they're doing the thing with Oreos, Pac-Man and the Ghost going to be on the actual Oreo cookies. It's going to be kind of cool. But yeah, Arcade1Up needs to announce something. And I'm hoping that they're going to come out of the gate swinging. My prediction of what they could possibly announce, I think they will do a Smash TV. I think that's something that is possible. And I think it's something people are waiting for. It was supposed to come out last year, so it only makes sense for them to come out with it this year, because they would have kind of perfected what they needed to perfect and kind of, dotted their I's and crossed their T's. So I think we will get a Smash TV cabinet. Obviously, I think we're going to get more of the same. We'll get more Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. I think some of those we'll see in XL, which is what people are waiting for. So I think the re-releases are still going to come. Alien vs. Predator, maybe. I have heard some stuff with like the Capcom license kind of being a little weird because John D might have caused some issues in that department, but this is all rumors. I don't know. I'm not in the know. I'm just going off of what I hear other people say. So maybe we see Alien vs. Predator, maybe we don't. But either way, I think we will see Smash TV. That one I'm pretty confident on. We'll see our normal re-releases, but just in different form factors. Me personally, I'm hoping for a Golden Tee Deluxe. That was something that I thought I was the only one saying that, but I guess the Cornercade has been singing the praises of the Golden Tee Deluxe. I do watch the Cornercade from time to time. Like, I've seen a lot of his reviews, and I know he does a lot of lives throughout the week, but his lives are like 3 hours. I can't catch everything he says. So I missed the fact that he was saying that. So when I mentioned it in my last video, he did put in the comments that he's mentioned that in the past. I'm like, oh shoot, sorry man, I didn't know you were saying that too. So that's 2 people that want this cabinet. So please make it happen, Arcade1Up. Yeah, I guess a lot of it is kind of waiting and seeing. But I hope they announce something by next month. Like, they got to do something, because right now the pulse of Arcade1Up is almost flatlining. Like, people are just like, the reason people are talking so much junk is because there's nothing to talk about. So give us something to talk about. So that is kind of my plea to Arcade1Up. Announce something in February. Get us actually talking about your products. Give us something new and exciting. And hopefully that will bring some positivity into the Arcade1Up community. Now, I was at the Brick yesterday with my son. I just kind of went there to kind of walk around. It was a beautiful day out, so I wanted to kind of get out, get some fresh air, and then kind of go into some stores here and there. When I went into the Brick, I saw some Arcade1Ups that I personally don't own. I saw Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Great looking cabinet. Obviously, it's got a lot of solid games. I suck at fighters, so that's why I didn't buy it. I had the original Marvel vs. Capcom, and it was actually one of my least played cabinets, just because I just suck so bad at it. When you suck that bad, you just don't go play it very often. So when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out, even though I liked the way it looked, I liked the lineup, I knew it wasn't going to get played, so I didn't purchase it. But it was cool to see it at the Brick. They also had the Legends Ultimate there, the original. It's been there for quite a few years, so it wasn't my first time seeing it, but it was cool seeing it next to the Arcade1Ups, as they've done in the past. But these Arcade1Ups are getting a little bit bigger and taller, so it's cool to see like just the different form factors kind of next to this thing. They also had a cabinet that I've seen the render for multiple times, and it's never really grabbed me, which is kind of funny because anything Namco that Arcade1Up does, it normally grabs me. I love Namco, I love Pac-Man, I love Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, Dig Dug. I love all those cabinets and those games. I'm a Namco fanboy when it comes to the 80s arcade games. But even though I actually really liked the wood grain Pac-Man, for some reason I wasn't a fan of the wood grain Miss Pac-Man. I don't know why. It just didn't really like grab me the same way. So this thing's actually been on sale here in Canada for like $3.99 for quite a while. It kind of goes back and forth, but it always kind of comes down to $3.99 because they're really trying to like sell out the stock. And for whatever reason, they actually had one at my brick yesterday, and I saw it in person. And I gotta say, it actually looked quite nice. I was really shocked at how good it actually looked. It's got a solid game list. I mean, for that price, if I didn't have the class of 1981, I don't know. I might have bought it. That's how good I thought it looked. But I didn't, obviously. And again, I have the class of 81. That's why I didn't. But and I always prefer them to go more original, right? That's why I got a little upset when they ended up doing the Miss Pac-Man Deluxe, but they made it black. I want like the original classic blue, but they wanted to do black. You know, it is what it is. So with the wood grain, I actually wouldn't have minded if it was in the cabaret form factor, like they did with was it Pac-Man Plus or Super Pac-Man? I think it was Pac-Man Plus. I actually thought that looked great. And if they did the Miss Pac-Man that way, I probably actually would have bought it then and there. But because it's in the old school kind of Namco shape that they were doing before they did the tilted screen and everything like that, that's why I thought it kind of looked a little odd. But in person, it actually looked nice. And my son, he really enjoyed kind of looking at the cab and playing around with it, because he's really kind of got a fondness now for those games, because we'll come down here and he'll sit on my lap and I'll play a lot of the Namco games. So he knows those games now. Like they had Rompers on the screen and he knew right away. He's like, oh, Rompers. So that was really cool and a really cool moment. I saw a Dragon's Lair, which beautiful looking cabinet, a little short. I'm 5'8", so me saying it's a little short, that's when you know it is short. But I thought it looked beautiful. What else did they have there? I feel like they had one more cabinet, but I'm kind of pulling a blank. They had a couple countercades. I'm not so much a fan of the countercades anymore. I've had 3 in the past and I sell them within the year. So I don't even look that direction anymore. So I couldn't even tell you what countercades they had. Obviously, they're great if you have like an office or you're limited on space. I myself, when it comes to my basement, am not. So it just didn't make sense for me to have them. I didn't play them when I was surrounded by the 3/4 ones. So that's why I didn't look that direction. But they did have some there. Yeah, I can't remember what the last cab was that was there. It might have been The Simpsons. I think it was The Simpsons, which I've had in the past, but I sold. I actually sold it to a guy that has an Airbnb that he made into kind of like a gaming theme. So if you're, in the Ontario area and here in Canada, and you see a gaming themed Airbnb and you see a Simpsons, that might be my Simpsons. Well, my former Simpsons, because it's not mine anymore. So yeah, it was cool seeing those cabinets. Best Buy is not too far away from there. We were going to go to Best Buy, but I didn't end up going there because a lot of the times they don't even have them there on display or even have the boxes there for you to see. Like now they just have those cue cards. So it was kind of pointless for me to go there and just look at cue cards. But I know kind of what they have available because I've seen online. Me personally right now, I'm actually looking for a Galaga stool. I looked at Shop Hippo, saw the one that they have. Looks great. Too expensive though. Way too expensive. For me to have it shipped here to Canada, it would almost be like $300. I think it's like just shy of 300, like 270, 280, 290. That's ridiculous for a stool. So I didn't pursue that. And then they have the old school Galaga stool on Amazon, and it's the same price because of the fact that it's an older model. So I don't know if I'm ever going to get a stool for the class of 81 unless they come out with one down the road. Maybe a Miss Pac-Man one would be great. I'm just going to have to look on eBay and see. But at the end of the day, like, the prices of these stools are ridiculous. Like, it's a freaking stool. So very annoying not being able to find one at a decent price, because I'm just at a point where I'm not spending that kind of money on a stool. It's just not worth it. So yeah, so hopefully kind of to dial it back to Arcade1Up and the way this year is going, they need to announce something. Hopefully they announce something soon. I'm definitely going to be paying attention. Right now, At Games and Unico are the ones kind of getting the attention. Obviously, At Games they got a beautiful product with their pinball machine, the 4K one. That Attack from Mars, that was available in Canada. I might have a problem there. I'm glad I got my Arcade1Up one. I love that thing, though a lot of people say they don't like it. I like mine, and I'm okay with it. But that At Games one was freaking tempting. But it's not available here in Canada, so I'm not worried. It's just the Addams Family one that's available here in Canada, and I'm not going to buy that one. So I got nothing to worry about in that department. But their pinball tables that they've done, the different skins, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm not a big multicade guy, like somebody that's looking to have like a multicade as far as like what am I trying to say here? So, for example, like Unico, they're doing the candy cab. Now, candy cabs are cabinets that are literally supposed to be multicades. They're supposed to, have multiple games, or sometimes they do just have one game, but they're very generic looking cabinets, right? And then, obviously, like At Games, they have their version. They got their newer one coming out. They made it KI themed. But again, it still has that multicade generic look. I'm just not a fan of the multicade look. I'm more somebody that likes what Arcade1Up's doing. I want my cabinet to look like a specific cabinet that exists, and then you can kind of tinker with it, make it a little bit of a multicade. I like what Arcade1Up does, where they kind of stick to like one company. Namco, a Namco cabinet has Namco games. Midway cabinet has Midway games. Capcom games. I prefer that. I do get having a cabinet that plays everything. I've done a multicade in the past. I made my Asteroids cabinet a multicade with a Pandora's box. But the reason I sold it is because I made the Asteroids cabinet end up looking kind of generic, because I had to change the control panel. I had to get some custom art, but again, it looked too multicade-ish for me. I just don't, I'm just not a fan of generic multicade looks. That's just me. So the candy cab is not something I'm interested in, but I get why people are interested in it, and I'm glad that they're making a product that obviously seems very strong. I believe it's made with like metal or something like that. Obviously, it's a phenomenal product, and I'm glad for the people that are kind of getting what they want. But for me, not something I'm interested in. So I'm literally waiting for Arcade1Up to kind of, announce something, kind of show their cards for at least the beginning of the year, and we'll see if they kind of nag me with something. But for the most part, it's just a waiting game for me, and yeah, we'll see what Arcade1Up announces earlier this year, hopefully next month. So the last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is McFarlane Toys. Again, I collect the live action Batman figures. They announced the Batman figure for Batman v Superman, the Batman specifically. So Ben Affleck's Batman. Now, me personally, I actually thought Batman v Superman, the movie itself, was not that great. I actually fell asleep 3 times in the theater watching that movie. It's just one of those movies where, for me, it never quite took off for me. Like, it kind of stayed the same. I've seen it a couple times since watching it in the theater, and I've learned to like it a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it never really like got to where I was kind of hoping it was going to get. And then that Martha thing just kind of took me out, right? Like, the fact that what brought them together was that their moms have the same name. just not my thing. So, with that being said, the only thing I ended up kind of really liking from that movie was I did think Ben Affleck's portrayal of Batman was good. I liked the costume. I liked how dark he was. I thought he did a really good job, and then when he ended up doing the Justice League, I thought he did a great job in that as well. So when they announced this figure, when I saw it, I was kind of debating on picking it up, but I do have the Justice League version, so I thought, you know what, it'd be nice to have both, because in the end, this will be in a display case, whether the figures are out of package or maybe I might just have the packages. I don't really know yet, but either way, I was like, that's a figure I'm interested in. So hoping to pick that up once it's available for purchase. Right now, it's just pre-order, so we'll see what happens. And then another figure that they came out with. So I have the whole set that they've announced for the Dark Knight trilogy. I have everything that they've announced already collected. So they did a Build-A-Wave, which is when they do 4 figures, and then within the 4 figures, there's pieces to build a 5th figure. So they did the Batman trilogy, or the Dark Knight trilogy, sorry. So I have the Joker, Batman, Two-Face, and who was the 4th one? Oh, Scarecrow. And within those 4 figures, you end up building Bane. So really happy with the set. It's a beautiful looking set. And then they ended up coming out with a gold edition Bane that was pretty much the same Bane in the Build-A-Figure, but it came with the trench coat. I actually bought that one as well because if I do keep them in box, it'll be nice actually having a Bane to display. Because I'm still kind of debating. If I do end up taking them out of the packages and display them, I might just sell one of the Banes. It'll probably be the Bane without the trench coat. So they didn't do a Catwoman. That was the one thing we were kind of waiting for. Well, finally they announced it, but it's in a package with the Bat motorcycle or Bat pod. I don't know why I'm pulling a blank on the name of this thing. I think it was called the Bat pod. You guys can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it's Catwoman and this Bat pod, and it's really expensive. So right away I was like, "Are you serious? Like, I want this figure, but I don't want this damn motorcycle." So I kind of waited. I put in the comments that I was kind of hoping for a standalone figure. And sure enough, in the comments, after kind of seeing some back and forth with people saying, they're not going to do it, they are going to do it, there was some confirmation from McFarlane themselves that they are going to do a standalone Catwoman figure, which is the Anne Hathaway Catwoman. So I got really excited. I'm going to pick that up whenever that comes out. So that will kind of complete my Dark Knight trilogy set. And then from there, it's just So I got Michael Keaton's Batman. And I do have his Batmobile because I'm such a big fan of his Batmobile that when McFarlane did the combo set, I did pick that one up. But that's going to be the only combo set I pick up when it comes to the actual vehicle, because I collect the Jada Batmobiles. I have all the Batmobiles in my Jada set, and they're about this big. So the only one I really want as far as displaying that's a little bit bigger is the 1989 version, and now that I have that, I'm set. But yeah, so even though I have Michael Keaton's Batman, I do need the Batman 89 figures, the Joker, obviously, 1992, the Catwoman and the Penguin. So hopefully they do a Build-A-Figure set with that, where you get Batman, Joker, Catwoman, Penguin, and I don't know who it would build. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who it could be. I guess it could be Batman's suit from Batman Returns, because there was a little bit of a change in the upper body. So they could do a second Batman, and that would be what you would build with the Build-A-Figure set. And then they haven't done Batman Forever yet. So I would love to have the Batman Forever set. Batman, Robin, Two-Face, and the Riddler. So yeah, so that's kind of what I need to kind of complete my live action Batman set. And then of course from there, it's just waiting for the new movie to come out and then collecting that set. So really excited with what McFarlane Toys is doing with these live action figures. I just got the Batman and Robin set, like quite a while back. Well, not quite a while back. They just came out fairly recent, but I mean, like, I've had it for a few weeks now. When it comes to collecting, sometimes when you're a collector, money can like things can get out of hand financially, right? Where at least with McFarlane, I feel like they charge a good amount of money for their figures, and obviously there's deals sometimes on Amazon. Where as a collector, it's a very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's a very financial friendly company as far as collecting. Though I did say the Catwoman with the Bat Pod, that was a little expensive, but again, that will come down in price on Amazon. But again, I don't want the pod, so I'm just going to wait for the figure. But yeah, they're usually around, like, I've seen them kind of run anywhere in Canada from like $24 to like $34. They don't usually get any higher than that unless it's like one that's really kind of wanted within the community, and then obviously those prices will kind of build for that one. But by that point, the people that really want it probably already have it, and then if you're kind of late to the dance, unfortunately you might have to pay like a heftier cost. But for the most part, when they first come out, they're very financially friendly, and that's what I like, and I feel like the figures look really good. So really happy with my collection so far, and looking forward to collecting the rest that I mentioned I'm waiting for. Really appreciate you guys checking out this podcast. My furnace just turned on, so I'm going to take that as a sign to kind of end the podcast. Really appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully you guys like the video component with this podcast. Take care. I'll see you guys on the next video. Hopefully Arcade1Up will announce something so I can make a video about that. But if not, maybe my next video might be like a game room tour, or I do have another idea for a video that I'm kind of thinking about. I'm not going to mention something yet. You guys will know if it comes out. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And just remember, another one's coming your way sometime soon. And I'm talking the podcast. There's going to be videos as well, but another podcast will be coming your way soon as well. Thanks for watching. Take care, you guys. Have a great day.